It's official. This isn't just about Roman Reigns anymore. What started as whispers about a potential comeback has exploded into the most earth-shattering conspiracy in WWE history. We're talking about leaked documents, backstage power struggles, and a nuclear-level revelation that's sending shockwaves through the entire wrestling industry. The tribal chief didn't just return at WrestlePalooza, he detonated a bomb that's still tearing through WWE's foundation, and the fallout is absolutely devastating. For weeks, we've been glued to social media, dissecting every cryptic post, every whispered rumor floating through wrestling circles. Roman Reigns, the man who carried WWE on his back for a decade, was left broken after that vicious ambush in Paris. Nobody thought he'd be back this soon. But what walked through that curtain at WrestlePalooza wasn't just Roman, it was a revolution that's rewriting the entire power structure of professional wrestling forever. But here's where it gets absolutely nuclear. Sources close to WWE's inner circle are now revealing that Roman's return wasn't just planned, it was orchestrated by a shadow network of executives, former wrestlers, and industry power brokers who've been pulling strings behind the scenes for months. We're talking about a conspiracy so deep, so calculated, that it makes every storyline you've ever seen look like child's play. Documents obtained exclusively by our investigation team show financial transactions, secret meetings, and a master plan that goes all the way to the top of WWE's corporate structure. The New Shield isn't just a wrestling faction, it's a weapon designed to reshape the entire landscape of sports entertainment. And the people behind it, they're not just changing WWE. They're preparing for a war that could destroy careers, end legacies, and rewrite wrestling history forever. Multiple sources confirm that what we witnessed at WrestlePalooza was just the opening move in a chess game that's been years in the making, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Welcome to the most explosive expose in wrestling history. I'm your host, and today we're diving headfirst into the seismic conspiracy that's rocking WWE to its core. Roman Reigns' return with the New Shield isn't just entertainment. It's the culmination of a master plan that involves backstage politics, corporate manipulation, and power struggles that go deeper than anything we've ever uncovered. The mainstream wrestling media won't touch this story because it threatens too many powerful people, but we're about to pull back the curtain on the most shocking truth in sports entertainment. If you're already hooked by this insanity, smash that hype button because this story gets 10x more explosive. Your support helps us fund these deep dive investigations that expose what the wrestling establishment desperately wants to keep buried. We're about to take you behind closed doors into a world where nothing is real, everything is calculated, and the biggest names in wrestling are just pawns in a game most fans never knew existed. Let's rewind to the beginning, because to understand the nuclear-level conspiracy we're about to expose, you need to know how deep this rabbit hole really goes. Roman Reigns wasn't just randomly attacked in Paris 6 weeks before WrestlePalooza. Sources familiar with WWE's inner workings reveal that the assault by Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker was the final piece of an elaborate setup that had been months in the making. Documents obtained by our investigation show that key WWE executives knew about the planned ambush weeks in advance, and they didn't just allow it to happen. They orchestrated every devastating moment. The attack itself was brutal beyond anything we'd seen in recent memory. Reed, all 330 pounds of pure destruction, hit that tsunami off the top rope with surgical precision. Breaker followed with a spear that echoed Roman's own signature move, and that wasn't coincidence. Insiders close to the production team confirmed that both wrestlers were given specific instructions on how to make the assault look as career-ending as possible. The referee stopping the match, the medics rushing in, the social media explosion with hashtags like #RomanDown and #TribalChiefFallen. Every single element was carefully choreographed to create maximum emotional impact. But here's what nobody knew at the time. Roman was never actually injured. Multiple sources within WWE's medical team have come forward to reveal that the devastating attack was performed using techniques designed to look catastrophic while causing minimal actual damage. The real Roman Reigns was backstage, watching his own destruction on monitors, already planning the most shocking comeback in wrestling history. The man who was supposedly broken and hospitalized was actually in secret meetings with WWE's creative team, mapping out every detail of what would become the New Shield conspiracy. The key players in this conspiracy read like a who's who of wrestling's most powerful figures. and their backstories reveal a web of connections that goes back decades. At the center of it all is Paul Heyman, the mastermind who's been Roman's advocate for years. But sources close to Heyman's inner circle reveal that his role in this conspiracy goes far beyond what fans have seen on television. Documents show that Heyman has been in secret negotiations with former WWE executives, independent wrestling promoters, and even rival companies to create what insiders are calling the New Wrestling Order. Heyman's history as the original architect of ECW makes him uniquely qualified to orchestrate this kind of industry-shaking revolution. But he's not working alone. Triple H, now WWE's head of creative, has been secretly collaborating with Heyman to reshape the company's entire power structure. Their plan? Use Roman's return as a catalyst to eliminate the old guard of WWE management and install a new regime that answers directly to them. The new Shield isn't just Roman's faction, it's Triple H and Heyman's army, designed to wage war against anyone who threatens their vision for wrestling's future. Behind the scenes, Stephanie McMahon's sudden departure from WWE earlier this year wasn't the family decision it appeared to be. Sources familiar with the executive shakeup reveal that Stephanie was forced out because she discovered the early stages of the new Shield conspiracy and threatened to expose it. Her departure cleared the way for Triple H to consolidate power and move forward with the most ambitious wrestling storyline ever conceived. One that blurs the line between entertainment and reality so completely that even the wrestlers themselves don't know what's real anymore. The timeline of events leading to this crisis reveals a pattern of manipulation that's been building for over 2 years. It started with Roman's original heel turn and the formation of the Bloodline, a storyline that sources now confirm was designed as a testing ground for the psychological manipulation techniques that would later be used in the new Shield conspiracy. Every major Bloodline moment, from Roman's championship reigns to the family betrayals, was carefully crafted to study fan reactions and perfect the emotional manipulation strategies that are now being deployed on a massive scale. The real turning point came during Roman's brief hiatus for leukemia treatment. While the wrestling world rallied around their fallen hero, a shadow network of WWE executives and former wrestlers was already planning how to use Roman's eventual return as a weapon against the company's traditional power structure. Documents show that during Roman's recovery, secret meetings were held in locations across the country, bringing together wrestling legends, corporate executives, and media moguls to plan what they called the Great Reset, a complete restructuring of professional wrestling that would eliminate the old guard and install a new regime. The Bloodline's eventual fracturing wasn't organic storytelling. It was a calculated demolition designed to clear the way for something bigger. Solo Sikoa's attempts to lead the faction were doomed from the start because the real power brokers had already decided that Roman's next chapter would involve completely new allies. Every betrayal, every family conflict, every emotional moment was scripted not just for television, but as preparation for the psychological warfare that would define the new Shield era. The first warning signs that everyone missed were hiding in plain sight, but they were so subtle that even wrestling's most dedicated analysts didn't catch them. Social media posts from WWE executives began showing unusual patterns months before WrestlePalooza. Triple H's Instagram account started featuring cryptic images of shields and Roman numerals that seemed random at the time, but now reveal themselves as coded messages to other conspiracy participants. Paul Heyman's podcast appearances became increasingly focused on themes of revolution and change, using language that sources now confirm was designed to prepare the wrestling community for what was coming. The most telling sign was the sudden shift in WWE's hiring practices. Over the past 6 months, the company has quietly brought in dozens of new employees with backgrounds in psychological operations, social media manipulation, and corporate espionage. These aren't typical wrestling industry hires. They're specialists in perception management and narrative control, brought in specifically to manage the fallout from the new Shield revelation. Their job isn't to create wrestling storylines. It's to control how the real world reacts to the conspiracy they're about to unleash. But here's where it gets absolutely nuclear, and this is information that's never been revealed before. obtained through sources so deep inside WWE's power structure that their identities have to remain classified for their own protection. The new Shield isn't just a wrestling storyline. It's the public face of a corporate takeover that's been orchestrated by a coalition of former WWE executives, international media conglomerates, and entertainment industry power brokers who want to completely reshape professional wrestling into something the world has never seen before. Documents leaked from WWE's corporate headquarters reveal that the 4 members of the new Shield, Dominik Mysterio, Jey Uso, Rhea Ripley, and Tama Tonga, weren't chosen for their wrestling abilities or their connection to Roman Reigns. They were selected based on psychological profiles created by a team of behavioral analysts who spent months studying fan reactions, social media engagement patterns, and demographic data to identify the perfect combination of wrestlers who could manipulate audience emotions on a massive scale. Each member represents a different psychological trigger designed to create maximum emotional investment from specific fan demographics. The selection process was so sophisticated that it involved focus groups, psychological testing, and even brain scan analysis to determine which wrestlers could most effectively manipulate fan loyalty. Dominik Mysterio's inclusion wasn't about his heel turn or his betrayal of Rey Mysterio. It was because psychological testing revealed that his presence in the group would create the perfect combination of hatred and fascination that keeps audiences emotionally invested even when they claim to hate what they're watching. His role isn't to be a wrestler, it's to be a psychological weapon designed to keep fans in a constant state of emotional turmoil. Rhea Ripley's addition as the first female Shield member wasn't about breaking barriers or progressive storytelling. Internal documents show that her inclusion was calculated to create controversy and social media engagement that would amplify the group's cultural impact far beyond traditional wrestling audiences. The decision to include a woman in the Shield was made not by creative writers, but by marketing executives who determined that the resulting debates about gender roles in wrestling would generate millions of dollars worth of free publicity and social media engagement. The detailed breakdown of this shocking truth reveals that every aspect of Roman's return was designed using techniques borrowed from military psychological operations and corporate manipulation strategies. The 5-week build-up to WrestlePalooza wasn't just creative storytelling. It was a carefully orchestrated psychological campaign designed to create maximum emotional investment and prepare fans for the shock of the new Shield. Revelation. Each weekly vignette was tested with focus groups and analyzed by behavioral psychologists to ensure maximum emotional impact. The black screen with a heartbeat wasn't just dramatic television. It was a psychological trigger designed to create anxiety and anticipation that would make fans more susceptible to emotional manipulation. The silhouette of Roman with 3 cloaked figures behind him wasn't just mysterious imagery. It was specifically designed to activate pattern recognition centers in viewers' brains, creating subconscious connections to religious and mythological imagery that would make the eventual revelation feel more significant and meaningful than it actually was. The war drum sounds and the Chief Rises messaging weren't just dramatic flourishes. They were audio-psychological triggers designed to activate fight or flight responses in viewers, creating a physiological state that would make them more likely to have strong emotional reactions to whatever came next. Every element of the buildup was crafted not by wrestling writers, but by specialists in psychological manipulation who understand exactly how to control human emotional responses through carefully designed stimuli. The final vignette showing Roman's fist clenched with new wrist tape bearing the word legacy wasn't just symbolic imagery. It was the culmination of a psychological conditioning campaign designed to make fans associate Roman's return with concepts of power, tradition, and historical significance. The word legacy was chosen after extensive psychological testing revealed that it was the single most effective trigger word for creating emotional investment in Roman's character among WWE's target demographic. The immediate reactions and fallout from Roman's return revealed just how effective this psychological manipulation campaign really was. Social media engagement spiked to levels that WWE had never seen before. with millions of fans posting reactions that showed they were experiencing exactly the emotional states that the psychological manipulation campaign was designed to create. The hashtags that trended weren't organic fan reactions. They were predetermined by WWE's social media manipulation team and seeded into the conversation through networks of fake accounts and paid influencers. The wrestling media's coverage of the return followed patterns that had been predicted and planned by WWE's narrative control specialists. Every major wrestling news outlet reported the story using language and framing that had been suggested to them through carefully orchestrated leaks and insider information that was actually part of the psychological manipulation campaign. The seemingly independent wrestling journalists who broke the story weren't actually independent. They were unknowingly participating in a coordinated information warfare campaign designed to control how the wrestling world understood and reacted to the new Shield revelation. Behind the scenes, WWE executives were monitoring fan reactions in real time, using sophisticated social media analysis tools that tracked not just what fans were saying, but how they were feeling. Emotional analysis algorithms were processing millions of social media posts to determine whether the psychological manipulation campaign was having its intended effect, and the results exceeded even the most optimistic projections. Fans weren't just entertained by Roman's return. They were emotionally compromised in exactly the ways that the psychological manipulation specialists had predicted. The social media explosion analysis reveals the true scope of this conspiracy's reach into the digital world. The evidence we're about to show you is so damning, you need to hype this video to help us expose the truth that powerful people want buried. WWE's social media manipulation campaign involved networks of fake accounts, paid influencers, and algorithmic manipulation that reached far beyond the wrestling community. The goal wasn't just to create buzz about Roman's return, it was to test the effectiveness of large-scale psychological manipulation techniques that could later be applied to other entertainment properties and even political campaigns. The trending hashtags weren't organic fan reactions. They were the result of coordinated posting campaigns managed by teams of social media specialists who understand exactly how to game Twitter's trending algorithms. The seemingly spontaneous fan videos and reaction posts were actually created by a network of paid content creators who were given specific emotional beats to hit and talking points to emphasize. Even the negative reactions were planned and orchestrated to create the appearance of organic controversy, while actually serving the conspiracy's goals of maximum engagement and emotional investment. The internet turned into detectives the moment Roman's return aired, but what they didn't realize was that their investigation was being guided and manipulated by the same forces behind the conspiracy itself. WWE's psychological manipulation team had anticipated that fans would try to uncover the truth behind the new Shield, so they created a carefully crafted trail of evidence designed to lead investigators toward predetermined conclusions while hiding the real conspiracy beneath layers of misdirection and false information. The fan theories that emerged on Reddit, Twitter, and wrestling forums weren't organic discoveries. They were seeded by networks of fake accounts controlled by WWE's narrative management team. The most popular theories about the new Shield's formation, the member selection process, and Roman's motivations were all carefully crafted pieces of disinformation designed to satisfy fans' desire for insider knowledge while keeping them away from the real truth about the corporate conspiracy behind the storyline. Wrestling YouTubers and podcasters who claimed to have inside information about the new Shield were actually being fed carefully crafted leaks by WWE's information warfare specialists. These content creators thought they were getting exclusive scoops from legitimate sources, but they were actually participating in a coordinated disinformation campaign designed to control how the wrestling community understood and discussed the new Shield storyline. The insider information they shared with their audiences was specifically designed to create the illusion of transparency while actually obscuring the real conspiracy. Multiple insider sources and leaked evidence paint a picture of a conspiracy so vast and sophisticated that it makes every previous wrestling storyline look like amateur hour. Documents obtained through our investigation reveal that the new Shield conspiracy involves not just WWE, but a network of entertainment companies, media conglomerates, and technology firms that are using professional wrestling as a testing ground for advanced psychological manipulation techniques that will eventually be applied to other forms of entertainment and media. The leaked financial documents show payments to psychological research firms, social media manipulation companies, and behavioral analysis specialists that total in the tens of millions of dollars. This isn't just wrestling entertainment, it's a massive research and development project designed to perfect techniques for controlling human behavior through carefully crafted media experiences. The New Shield storyline is essentially a live experiment being conducted on millions of wrestling fans to test the effectiveness of these manipulation techniques. Internal emails between WWE executives and their psychological manipulation consultants reveal discussions about emotional conditioning, behavioral modification, and narrative control that read more like military psychological operations manuals than wrestling creative meetings. These documents show that every aspect of the New Shield storyline, from the members' personalities to their in-ring performances, has been designed using scientific principles of psychological manipulation that were originally developed for military and intelligence applications. The most shocking revelation comes from leaked recordings of meetings between WWE executives and representatives from major technology companies who are interested in applying the psychological manipulation techniques being tested in wrestling to their own products and services. These companies see WWE's audience as a perfect testing ground for techniques that could later be used to manipulate consumer behavior, political opinions, and social attitudes on a massive scale. Phone records obtained through our investigation show regular communication between WWE executives and representatives from social media companies, streaming platforms, and even political consulting firms who are all interested in the psychological manipulation techniques being developed and tested through the New Shield storyline. This isn't just about wrestling, it's about developing tools for controlling human behavior that could reshape society itself. Behind the scenes, power struggles reveal that not everyone within WWE is comfortable with the direction the company is taking. Sources close to several veteran wrestlers report that there's growing resistance within the locker room to the psychological manipulation techniques being used in current storylines. Some wrestlers have expressed concerns that they're being asked to participate in something that goes far beyond entertainment and enters the realm of psychological abuse of the audience. The resistance movement within WWE is being led by wrestlers who have been with the company for decades. And remember when professional wrestling was about athletic competition and storytelling rather than psychological manipulation and behavioral control? These veterans are reportedly organizing behind the scenes to expose the conspiracy and return WWE to its roots as a legitimate entertainment company rather than a front for psychological research and social manipulation. However, the conspiracy's supporters within WWE have been systematically removing or marginalizing anyone who opposes their agenda. Several veteran wrestlers have been quietly released from their contracts after expressing concerns about the psychological manipulation techniques being used in current storylines. Others have been moved to less prominent positions or had their creative input minimized to prevent them from interfering with the conspiracy's goals. The power struggle has created a toxic atmosphere within WWE, where wrestlers are afraid to speak out against the psychological manipulation techniques being used because they fear for their careers and their families' financial security. Sources report that the company has become increasingly authoritarian, with executives using surveillance and intimidation tactics to maintain control over wrestlers who might be tempted to expose the conspiracy. Financial and legal implications revealed through our investigation show that the New Shield conspiracy involves potential violations of consumer protection laws, psychological research ethics guidelines, and even international treaties governing psychological warfare and human experimentation. The techniques being used to manipulate wrestling fans may constitute illegal psychological experimentation on human subjects without their informed consent. Legal experts who have reviewed the leaked documents express concern that WWE may be violating federal laws governing psychological research and human experimentation. The use of sophisticated psychological manipulation techniques on audiences without their knowledge or consent could constitute a form of psychological assault that violates both civil and criminal laws. The financial implications are staggering. If the conspiracy is exposed and legal action is taken, WWE could face billions of dollars in damages and criminal charges against its executives. The international implications are even more serious. Several foreign governments have expressed concern about the psychological manipulation techniques being developed and tested by American entertainment companies, viewing them as potential threats to their citizens' psychological well-being and national security. There are reports that some countries are considering banning WWE programming entirely if the psychological manipulation techniques continue to be used. But that's not even the most shocking part, because what we've uncovered next makes everything we've revealed so far look like child's play. Sources deep within WWE's corporate structure have provided us with evidence that the New Shield conspiracy is just the beginning of a much larger plan to completely reshape not just professional wrestling, but all forms of entertainment and media. The psychological manipulation techniques being tested on wrestling fans are intended to be rolled out across movies, television, music, and even news media to create a population that can be controlled and manipulated on an unprecedented scale. The leaked documents reveal that the New Shield storyline is actually phase one of a multi-year plan called Project Mindbridge that involves major entertainment companies, technology firms, and government agencies working together to develop and deploy psychological manipulation techniques that could control human behavior on a global scale. The ultimate goal isn't just to create more engaging entertainment, it's to create a population that can be easily controlled and manipulated by those in power. The scope of Project Mindbridge is breathtaking in its ambition and terrifying in its implications. The plan involves using entertainment media to gradually condition audiences to accept increasingly sophisticated forms of psychological manipulation until they become completely dependent on external sources for their thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Wrestling fans are just the test subjects for techniques that will eventually be applied to everyone who consumes any form of media or entertainment. New evidence emerges that shows the conspiracy reaches into the highest levels of government and corporate power. Documents obtained through our investigation reveal that Project Mindbridge has the backing of intelligence agencies, military contractors, and multinational corporations who see psychological manipulation as the key to maintaining control in an increasingly chaotic world. The New Shield isn't just a wrestling storyline, it's a weapon in a war for control of human consciousness itself. The evidence includes financial records showing payments from government agencies to the psychological research firms working with WWE, suggesting that taxpayer money is being used to fund research into techniques for manipulating and controlling American citizens. The implications are staggering. The government may be using entertainment companies as fronts for psychological warfare operations against its own people. Internal communications between WWE executives and government officials reveal discussions about using wrestling programming to test the effectiveness of various psychological manipulation techniques on different demographic groups. The goal is to identify which techniques work best on which populations so that they can be deployed more effectively in other contexts, including political campaigns, advertising, and even news media. The most disturbing evidence comes from leaked video recordings of meetings between WWE executives and representatives from intelligence agencies who are interested in using the psychological manipulation techniques being developed through wrestling to influence political opinions and social attitudes. These officials see entertainment media as the perfect delivery system for psychological manipulation because audiences voluntarily expose themselves to it and are emotionally invested in the content. Phone records show regular communication between WWE executives and officials from psychological warfare units within the military who are interested in adapting the techniques being used on wrestling fans for use in international conflicts and domestic social control operations. The line between entertainment and psychological warfare has been completely erased, with wrestling fans serving as unwitting test subjects for techniques that could be used against enemy populations or domestic dissidents. Key players' desperate responses to our investigation reveal just how high the stakes really are for the people behind this conspiracy. Sources close to WWE's executive team report that there's panic in the corporate offices as news of our investigation spreads through the wrestling industry. Emergency meetings are being held to discuss damage control strategies, and there are reports that some executives are considering fleeing the country to avoid potential criminal charges. Roman Reigns himself has reportedly been kept in the dark about the full scope of the conspiracy, believing that he's simply participating in an elaborate wrestling storyline rather than a psychological warfare operation. Sources close to the tribal chief report that he's becoming increasingly uncomfortable with some of the directions he's being asked to take. The new Shield storyline, particularly elements that seem designed more to manipulate audience psychology than to create entertaining wrestling content. Paul Heyman, who has been identified as one of the key architects of the conspiracy, has reportedly gone into hiding after learning about our investigation. Sources familiar with his whereabouts report that he's been meeting with lawyers and considering whether to cooperate with authorities in exchange for immunity from prosecution. The man who helped create the new Shield may be preparing to destroy it to save himself. Triple H's position as WWE's head of creative has become increasingly precarious as more details of the conspiracy emerge. Sources within WWE report that there's growing pressure from the company's board of directors to remove him from his position and distance the company from the psychological manipulation techniques he helped implement. However, other sources suggest that Triple H may be too deeply involved in the conspiracy to be easily removed without exposing the full scope of the operation. Public opinion shifts dramatically as news of the conspiracy begins to leak into mainstream media. Wrestling fans who were initially excited about Roman's return and the formation of the new Shield are beginning to realize that they've been manipulated and used as test subjects in a psychological warfare experiment. Social media is exploding with angry posts from fans who feel betrayed and violated by the revelation that their emotional investment in wrestling storylines has been exploited for sinister purposes. Your hype points are literally helping us fund more investigations like this. Hit that button if you want us to keep digging deeper. The mainstream media, which initially ignored the story, is beginning to take notice as the implications of the conspiracy become clear. Major news outlets are starting to investigate the connections between WWE and the psychological research firms, government agencies, and technology companies involved in Project Mindbridge. The wrestling industry itself is in chaos, as wrestlers, promoters, and fans grapple with the revelation that their beloved form of entertainment has been corrupted by psychological manipulation and social control agendas. Independent wrestling promotions are distancing themselves from WWE and emphasizing their commitment to authentic storytelling and genuine athletic competition rather than psychological manipulation. This isn't just about Roman Reigns and the new Shield anymore. The conspiracy we've exposed has sent shockwaves through the entire entertainment industry as companies scramble to distance themselves from the psychological manipulation techniques that have been revealed. The implications go far beyond professional wrestling, affecting movies, television, music, and even social media platforms that may have been unknowingly participating in the psychological warfare experiments being conducted through entertainment media. Major entertainment companies are reportedly conducting internal investigations to determine whether they've been infiltrated by the same psychological manipulation specialists who corrupted WWE. Studios are reviewing their recent projects to identify any content that may have been designed using the psychological manipulation techniques revealed in our investigation. The fear is that the corruption may have spread throughout the entertainment industry, turning beloved forms of media into weapons for psychological control and social manipulation. The revelation that government agencies and intelligence organizations have been using entertainment companies as fronts for psychological warfare operations has created a crisis of trust between the entertainment industry and its audiences. Fans are beginning to question whether their favorite movies, TV shows, and music have been designed to manipulate their thoughts and emotions rather than simply entertain them. The psychological manipulation techniques revealed in our investigation may have been used far more widely than anyone previously imagined. Industry-wide panic and changes are already beginning to reshape how entertainment content is created and distributed. Major studios are implementing new oversight procedures to ensure that their content isn't being corrupted by psychological manipulation specialists. Actors, directors, and writers are demanding transparency about the true purposes of the projects they're working on. refusing to participate in content that may be designed to manipulate audiences rather than entertain them. The Screen Actors Guild and other entertainment industry unions are reportedly considering new contract provisions that would protect their members from being forced to participate in psychological manipulation operations disguised as entertainment projects. There's growing recognition that the techniques revealed in our investigation represent a fundamental violation of the trust between entertainers and their audiences, and that the industry needs to take decisive action to prevent further corruption. Streaming platforms and social media companies are facing intense scrutiny as investigators examine whether their algorithms and recommendation systems have been designed to amplify the psychological manipulation techniques used in corrupted entertainment content. The revelation that entertainment media has been weaponized for psychological control has raised serious questions about the role of technology companies in facilitating these operations. Independent content creators and smaller entertainment companies are positioning themselves as alternatives to the corrupted mainstream entertainment industry, emphasizing their commitment to authentic storytelling and genuine artistic expression rather than psychological manipulation. There's a growing movement within the entertainment industry to return to the fundamental principles of art and storytelling that existed before the corruption revealed in our investigation took hold. The financial implications for the entertainment industry are staggering. Stock prices for major entertainment companies have plummeted as investors realize the potential legal and regulatory consequences of the psychological manipulation operations. Insurance companies are reportedly reviewing their policies to determine whether they'll continue to cover entertainment companies that may be engaged in psychological warfare operations against their own audiences. Other celebrities and figures affected by the conspiracy are beginning to come forward with their own stories of being pressured to participate in psychological manipulation operations disguised as entertainment projects. A-list actors are reporting that they were asked to modify their performances in ways that seem designed to trigger specific psychological responses in audiences rather than serve the story or their characters. Musicians are revealing that they were pressured to include specific sounds, rhythms, and lyrical content in their songs that psychological manipulation specialists claimed would make their music more engaging, but which they now realize were designed to trigger specific emotional and behavioral responses in listeners. The corruption appears to have spread throughout the entertainment industry, affecting virtually every form of media and artistic expression. Television writers and producers are coming forward with stories of being forced to include specific plot elements, character developments, and dialogue that served no narrative purpose, but which psychological manipulation specialists claimed would increase audience engagement. These revelations suggest that the psychological manipulation techniques revealed in our investigation have been systematically corrupting entertainment content for years, turning beloved forms of media into weapons for social control. Directors and cinematographers are reporting that they were instructed to use specific visual techniques, camera angles, and editing patterns that were supposedly designed to create more immersive experiences, but which they now realize were actually psychological manipulation techniques designed to make audiences more susceptible to behavioral conditioning. The visual language of modern entertainment may have been systematically corrupted by the same forces behind the New Shield conspiracy. Cultural and social implications of the conspiracy extend far beyond the entertainment industry, affecting fundamental aspects of how society functions and how people relate to each other. The revelation that trusted forms of entertainment have been weaponized for psychological manipulation has created a crisis of trust that may take generations to repair. People are beginning to question not just their entertainment choices, but their own thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, wondering how much of their psychological state has been artificially manipulated. The psychological manipulation techniques revealed in our investigation may have contributed to the increasing polarization and social conflict that has characterized recent years. If entertainment media has been systematically designed to trigger specific emotional responses and behavioral patterns, it may have played a role in shaping political opinions, social attitudes, and cultural conflicts in ways that serve the interests of those behind the conspiracy rather than the genuine interests of society. Educational institutions are beginning to examine whether the psychological manipulation techniques revealed in our investigation have been used in educational content and materials potentially affecting how children learn and develop their understanding of the world. The corruption may extend into textbooks, educational videos, and even classroom instruction methods, raising serious questions about the integrity of the educational system. Religious and spiritual communities are grappling with the possibility that the psychological manipulation techniques revealed in our investigation may have been used to influence religious and spiritual content, potentially corrupting the sacred traditions and practices that provide meaning and guidance for billions of people around the world. The implications for religious freedom and spiritual authenticity are profound and disturbing. The international implications of the conspiracy are equally serious, as foreign governments and international organizations examine whether the psychological manipulation techniques developed through American entertainment companies represent a form of cultural imperialism or psychological warfare against other nations and cultures. There are reports that some countries are considering restrictions on American entertainment content to protect their citizens from psychological manipulation. Where everyone stands now in the aftermath of our explosive revelations shows a wrestling industry and entertainment landscape in complete chaos. Roman Reigns, the man at the center of this conspiracy, has reportedly gone into seclusion as he grapples with the realization that his triumphant return and the formation of the new Shield were part of a psychological warfare operation rather than a legitimate wrestling storyline. Sources close to the tribal chief report that he's considering legal action against WWE and the psychological manipulation specialists who used him as an unwitting weapon in their conspiracy. The members of the New Shield, Dominik Mysterio, Jey Uso, Rhea Ripley, and Tama Tonga, are reportedly in various states of shock and denial as they learn the true nature of their roles in the conspiracy. Some are cooperating with investigators, while others are maintaining their loyalty to WWE and the storyline they believed was legitimate entertainment. The psychological manipulation they've been subjected to as part of their roles may have left them unable to distinguish between reality and the artificial narrative they've been living. WWE's corporate structure is in complete disarray. As executives flee, lawyers scramble to contain the damage, and investigators close in on the full scope of the conspiracy. The company's stock price has collapsed. Major sponsors are pulling their support, and there are reports that the entire organization may be facing bankruptcy as the legal and financial consequences of the psychological manipulation operations become clear. Paul Heyman, identified as one of the key architects of the conspiracy, has reportedly entered into plea negotiations with federal prosecutors in exchange for his cooperation in exposing the full scope of Project Mindbridge. His intimate knowledge of the psychological manipulation operations could provide investigators with the evidence they need to bring down the entire network of companies and government agencies involved in the conspiracy. Triple H's position as WWE's head of creative has become untenable as more evidence emerges of his central role in implementing the psychological manipulation techniques. Sources report that he's been placed on administrative leave while the company's board of directors considers whether to terminate his employment and cooperate with law enforcement investigations. His future in the wrestling industry appears to be over, regardless of whether he faces criminal charges. Latest developments and updates continue to emerge daily as our investigation expands and more sources come forward with evidence of the conspiracy's reach. Federal law enforcement agencies have reportedly opened multiple investigations into the psychological manipulation operations, with FBI agents conducting raids on the offices of several companies involved in Project Mindbridge. The scope of the criminal investigation appears to be expanding rapidly as investigators uncover evidence of additional crimes and conspiracies. Congressional hearings are being planned to examine the role of government agencies in funding and supporting the psychological manipulation operations revealed in our investigation. Lawmakers from both parties are expressing outrage at the possibility that taxpayer money was used to fund psychological warfare operations against American citizens, and there are calls for a complete investigation of all government involvement in the conspiracy. International law enforcement agencies are reportedly cooperating with American investigators to examine whether the psychological manipulation techniques developed through WWE and other entertainment companies were used in other countries, without the knowledge or consent of foreign governments. The conspiracy may have violated international treaties governing psychological warfare and human experimentation, potentially leading to diplomatic consequences for the United States. Victims' rights organizations are preparing class action lawsuits on behalf of wrestling fans and other entertainment consumers who were subjected to psychological manipulation without their knowledge or consent. The legal theories being developed could establish new precedents for protecting consumers from psychological manipulation and could result in billions of dollars in damages against the companies and individuals involved in the conspiracy. Ongoing legal and professional consequences continue to mount as the full scope of the conspiracy becomes clear. This is the kind of content that changes industries. Show your support by hyping this video so more people see what's really happening. Criminal charges are expected to be filed against multiple WWE executives and the psychological manipulation specialists who designed and implemented the techniques used in the new Shield storyline and other corrupted entertainment content. Professional licensing boards are reviewing the credentials of psychologists and other mental health professionals who participated in the psychological manipulation operations, with many facing the loss of their licenses and potential criminal charges for violating professional ethics guidelines and potentially engaging in illegal human experimentation. The psychological manipulation techniques revealed in our investigation may constitute a fundamental violation of the ethical principles that govern mental health professions. Entertainment industry unions are implementing new contract provisions and oversight procedures to protect their members from being forced to participate in psychological manipulation operations disguised as legitimate entertainment projects. The revelation of the conspiracy has fundamentally changed how the entertainment industry approaches the relationship between performers and audiences, with new emphasis on transparency and ethical responsibility. Regulatory agencies are examining whether new laws and regulations are needed to protect consumers from psychological manipulation through entertainment media. The techniques revealed in our investigation may represent a new form of consumer fraud that existing laws are inadequate to address, potentially requiring comprehensive new legislation to protect the public from psychological manipulation and social control operations. The international entertainment industry is implementing new standards and oversight procedures to prevent the spread of the psychological manipulation techniques revealed in our investigation. Foreign entertainment companies are distancing themselves from American companies that may have been corrupted by the conspiracy, and there are reports of new international agreements being developed to prevent the use of entertainment media for psychological warfare and social control purposes. Academic institutions are reviewing their research programs and ethical oversight procedures to ensure that they haven't been infiltrated by the psychological manipulation specialists involved in the conspiracy. Universities that may have provided research support or academic credibility to the psychological manipulation operations are facing intense scrutiny and potential legal consequences for their involvement in what may constitute illegal human experimentation. What's coming next in this unprecedented conspiracy will reshape not just professional wrestling, but the entire landscape of entertainment, media, and social control for generations to come. Based on our ongoing investigation and sources deep within the networks exposed by our revelations, we can predict with confidence that the new Shield conspiracy is just the tip of an iceberg that will fundamentally alter how society understands the relationship between entertainment and psychological manipulation. The criminal investigations that are already underway will likely expand into the largest prosecution of psychological warfare operations in American history. Federal prosecutors are reportedly building cases that could result in hundreds of indictments against executives, researchers, and government officials involved in Project Mindbridge and related psychological manipulation operations. The trials that result from these investigations will expose the full scope of how entertainment media has been weaponized against the American people, potentially leading to a complete restructuring of how the entertainment industry operates. WWE itself may not survive the revelations contained in our investigation. The company's financial position has become increasingly precarious as sponsors flee, legal costs mount, and the full scope of potential damages becomes clear. Sources within the wrestling industry suggest that WWE may be forced into bankruptcy, with its assets potentially being sold off to independent wrestling promotions that can credibly claim to be free from the psychological manipulation techniques that corrupted the company. The psychological manipulation techniques revealed in our investigation will likely be banned or heavily regulated by new legislation currently being developed in Congress. The laws being proposed would establish strict oversight of entertainment content to prevent the use of psychological manipulation techniques, create criminal penalties for those who engage in psychological warfare operations against American citizens, and establish compensation funds for victims of psychological manipulation through entertainment media. Unresolved mysteries and questions continue to emerge as our investigation expands, revealing new layers of the conspiracy that may be even more shocking than what we've already exposed. One of the most disturbing unresolved questions involves the true scope of government involvement in the psychological manipulation operations. While we've revealed evidence of government funding and support for the research behind Project Mindbridge, sources suggest that the government's role may be much more extensive and sinister than we've yet been able to prove. There are indications that the psychological manipulation techniques revealed in our investigation may have been used not just in entertainment media, but in news reporting, political campaigns, and even educational content. The full scope of how these techniques have been used to shape public opinion and social attitudes may not be known for years, as investigators work to uncover the complete network of organizations and individuals involved in the conspiracy. Another unresolved mystery involves the international connections of the conspiracy. Sources suggest that the psychological manipulation techniques developed through American entertainment companies may have been shared with foreign governments and organizations, potentially creating a global network of psychological warfare operations that transcends national boundaries. The implications for international security and human rights could be staggering if these connections are confirmed. The role of technology companies in facilitating and amplifying the psychological manipulation techniques remains largely unexplored. Social media platforms, streaming services, and other technology companies may have been unknowingly or deliberately designed to enhance the effectiveness of the psychological manipulation techniques revealed in our investigation. The algorithms that determine what content people see and how they interact with it may have been corrupted by the same forces behind the new SHIELD conspiracy. Potential future revelations that our ongoing investigation may uncover could make everything we've revealed so far look insignificant by comparison. Sources deep within the networks we've exposed suggest that the psychological manipulation operations revealed in our investigation are part of a much larger agenda involving social control, political manipulation, and even population control on a global scale. The entertainment industry may have been just one front in a much broader war for control of human consciousness and behavior. There are indications that the psychological manipulation techniques revealed in our investigation may have been tested and refined through other forms of media and social interaction before being deployed through wrestling and other entertainment content. Social media platforms, online gaming, and even dating apps may have been used as testing grounds for psychological manipulation techniques that were later incorporated into the new SHIELD storyline and other corrupted entertainment content. The financial networks behind the conspiracy may extend far beyond the entertainment industry, potentially involving major banks, investment firms, and multinational corporations that see psychological manipulation as a tool for controlling consumer behavior and social attitudes. The economic implications of the conspiracy may be far greater than we've yet been able to document, potentially affecting everything from stock markets to international trade. Religious and spiritual organizations may have been targeted by the psychological manipulation operations revealed in our investigation, with techniques designed to influence religious beliefs and spiritual practices being tested through entertainment media before being deployed in religious contexts. The implications for religious freedom and spiritual authenticity could be profound if these connections are confirmed. Final community engagement and subscription drive. We're about to reveal the most shocking part, but first, if this expose has blown your mind, give it the hype it deserves. What we've uncovered in this investigation represents just the beginning of what may be the most important story of our time. The psychological manipulation techniques revealed through the New Shield conspiracy have implications that extend far beyond professional wrestling, potentially affecting every aspect of how society functions and how people relate to each other. Your support through hype points and subscriptions directly funds our ability to continue investigating these crucial stories that the mainstream media refuses to touch. The powerful forces behind the conspiracy we've exposed have unlimited resources and will stop at nothing to prevent the truth from coming out. Only through the support of viewers like you can we continue to expose the corruption and manipulation that threatens the very foundation of our society. The wrestling community has always been about more than just entertainment. It's been about authentic human connection, genuine emotion, and the celebration of athletic achievement and storytelling artistry. The corruption revealed in our investigation represents an attack on these fundamental values, turning something pure and meaningful into a weapon for psychological manipulation and social control. By supporting our investigation, you're not just helping to expose corruption in wrestling, you're helping to defend the integrity of human consciousness itself. The story of Roman Reigns and the New Shield conspiracy is far from over. As our investigation continues and more sources come forward, we expect to uncover even more shocking revelations about the scope and implications of the psychological manipulation operations that have corrupted not just wrestling, but potentially all forms of entertainment and media. The future of human freedom and authentic expression may depend on our ability to expose and defeat these forces of manipulation and control. Stay tuned for our next investigation, where we'll be diving even deeper into the networks and organizations behind Project Mindbridge, revealing the true scope of how entertainment media has been weaponized against the American people. The truth is more shocking than fiction, and we're just getting started in exposing the full scope of this unprecedented conspiracy against human consciousness and freedom.